Humanity is facing an existential crisis. Our environmental ecosystems are being negatively impacted by climate change and by other impacts of human activities. It's clear that resilience in our systems needs to be enhanced, and that includes our agricultural production systems.
When we came in the farm in 2016, the farm had been farmed conventionally and quite hard with pesticides, fertilizers, weed killers. So the first process for us, we saw that the ground was lacking life, lacking vitality. So it was to start adding that home, that organic humus, that organic biomass into the soil that the microbes and fungi can start living and dwelling within. We slowly moved away from conventional, initially weed killers, and then the fertilizers and fungicides, etc., followed in due course, and are now we've converted completely to organic fungicides or copper, sulfur, etc., in the management of fungi and pests. And initially, we're looking at a very manual way of managing those weeds to avoid weed competition. On the first 2 years, we planted that after we had cleaned it with clovers, and once they got to a certain size, tried to push them down just by hand again. All of that was very labor intensive, so we have started to mechanize that process slightly. We have recently bought in a under vine weeder, which is 2 mechanical arms that go underneath the vine and just loosen up the weeds, and then they will decompose and die on that vine row. And then we bring in any additional biomass that we have on the farm and just cover that row. That has saved us a lot in keeping the ground as moist as possible, as well as in winter, just keeping the temperature a bit more stable, especially once the cover crop has grown and we have a bit more ground cover. So from August, September, we have a very cold October. All that cover and the cover crop all helps to keep the soil temperature, moisture levels, microbial activity at a good place.
We have a two-pronged approach in our soils, where we first look at the chemistry side. With soil analysis, we look at what's needed. So we try to correct with natural products like rock dusts and things like that. We try to correct the chemistry first. And then after that, we start looking at the biological side of the soil. So that goes along with composts. We don't till here, or we do minimum tillage. We only till about 2 inches deep at most, if we do. We don't always do that. And we've had some very good success. These gardens are about 4 years old, and our soils are responding very well to that approach to the soil.
This area is very arid. We're probably looking between 280 to 550 mils per annum, and we've had quite a few dry years recently. As a trainee of permaculture, it's one of the first things that was bashed into us is to stop, sink, slow down that water, or stop, slow and sink that water as quickly as possible and spread it. We've decided to change how the rest of the farm was planted with figs, or the 3 hectares that we currently had planted, which was on a north to south direction, but was on a very steep slope. So there was quite a lot of runoff down to our bottom areas. It caused a bit of water logging at the bottom and a bit of water stress at the top. So we changed our orientation of the lines on this block. Every 2.5 meters, the trees are interlaced, if you want to call it, between the rows, so we can still ensure enough sun from a north to south direction, but we have planted the rows across the contour. So as the water runs down the slope, we have nets and pans that collect the water around the tree. Any extra runoff would then flow slowly down that line, and then if there is any overflow, would be directed into swales. Those swales and allows a place for that water to get stopped, slowed down and sunk into the ground and slowly permeate below ground to feed those lower roots. PGS stands for Participatory Guarantee System. Especially in the South African context, the PGS adds something new to the agrarian social dynamics, that it brings in farmers from across the spectrum. We've got very developmental farmers, guys that have just begun farming last year or in the last 2 years on very small pieces of land or on municipal land which they do not own, to large-scale farmers, and the focus has really been for us, yes, for the guys to have access and credibility on the market, where we supply to our local organic retailers, etc., and to local farm markets, but also more importantly as a learning channel. There's a peer-to-peer review of the practices on the farm, as well as a skills and practices sharing. So it becomes a bit of a farming laboratory, experimental laboratory, where the guys start to leverage off each other's knowledge and implement that on the ground.
I also have then all the, how shall I say, the practical experience of being part of the PGS group. We go out there and visit other farmers, and then we learn from them, and then they call it, we are going to do a farm audit. I wasn't sure what to do that, because I know what does an audit look like, because I used to work as an audit clerk. But then when you get down there, we've got a set of forms, and then when you look at, at what type of water do they use, and then how, if they have any, besides the crop, vegetables, what other farming did they do. We even visit the chicken farm. We actually learn from each other, because when we participate in their in activities, and they also come and visited us and participate here, give us some nice guidance on everything.
Belonging to the PGS, I think, is important for this farm. We don't try to sell at a higher price because we're organic. We believe it should be the same as conventional. So we're not pushing the price from that. But we do find that people that do buy from us feel a lot more secure in the fact that we are organic.
I think PGS really starts to localize, bring in more developmental farmers that have often been excluded from those farming associations, and offers them a point of difference, a way for them to compete on an open market with those bigger brands and offer something that the consumers would attach to. So ideally, the PGS normally demonstrates local agroecology, organic, non-carbon heavy logistics, etc., etc.